Well, colleagues, good afternoon. I'm Senator Linda Reynolds from Australia. And first of all, can I congratulate most sincerely Robert Pittenger and the amazing Anne Basham for bringing trafficking and slavery into this intelligence and security forum. To my mind, these issues are inextricably linked, but unfortunately we don't often discuss them together, and we certainly don't action them together. But I think by having this topic discussed here at this forum, it is a great first step in that direction. As we've heard today from the many wonderful panellists, security issues now are very multidimensional. And our nations, when we think about it, our nations have fought together many wars to preserve liberal democracies, but also for the freedom from enslavement by individuals. But despite this, something that unites us all, and still unites us here today, we're not fighting together for the freedom from slavery for the millions and millions of men, women and very young children who produce the goods that we now rely on. Slavery, as we've heard today in the last panel, starts with extraction and refining and goes along the process from there. It's important also, I believe, personally, my journey started with this a number of years ago. But I reflect in 2020, as Australia's Minister for Defence, I was very proud to have delivered the Defence Strategic Update, which was a very strong and clear-eyed assessment of our geostrategic circumstances. But as proud as I am of that, I think I'm even prouder to have been the Assistant Minister for Home Affairs in 2018, when I fought for and delivered, with the support of many, the first anti-modern slavery legislation in Australia's history. And I'm proud of both because both are all about democracy and freedom, but we don't always, as I've said, see those two issues together. But the stark truth is, as we've heard today, that there are nations, and one in particular, who present a security threat to our democracies. But not only are they a security threat to our nations, we are also still allowing them to sell us goods with components that are riddled with the slave labour of millions of women and children and, of course, men. And yet we still turn our eye away from that stark fact. And as we've heard from today, just about everything that we carry with us that is fabricated and has electronic componentry in it is made with slave labour. Our phones, our wind turbines, our solar panels, our electric cars, our Joint Strike Fighters are all full of slave labour. Yet somehow we can still turn a blind eye to this. So I strongly believe that we can and we must deal simultaneously with security and slavery issues, but it does take political will and leadership, not only of our executive governments, but also as parliamentarians, to lead the charge and bring these two issues together. If we have the political will, we can actually deal with both simultaneously. And we do this, as we heard in the last couple of panels today, by working as friends and allies to create alternative supply chains from extraction through to the final product being delivered. And one that is not only more secure, in the ways that we've heard today, but one that we can pretty much guarantee is slavery-free. So let me give you a specific example, one that we looked at in detail yesterday at our trafficking forum here in this room, and that is the issue of orphanage trafficking. Now just think about that for a moment, those two words being said together, orphanages and trafficking of children. Now, I just wanted to explain to you how this happens, because there are very great similarities with other forms of slavery that we ignore. So our governments across many of our nations, and our charities and our citizens are unknowingly contributing to the trafficking and the enslavement of over 5 million vulnerable children globally. 5 million children. So how can this possibly happen in this day and age? Well, it happens quite simply because our nations and our citizens are not doing their due diligence, and they are not checking. They've just assumed somebody else has checked for them. So across the world, in all of our nations, people with disposable income are genuinely looking to help those less fortunate than themselves, and that is particularly so in relation to children. And there are thousands of charities who are very happy to help them help others. But donors and volunteers, beware, because as the proverb says, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And the road to hell for millions of children goes straight through orphanages funded by our citizens. The stark truth is, and it's a very hard truth for our people to hear and to understand, is that the huge demand charities and volunteers and donors, kind-hearted as they are, have created a demand that far outstrips the natural supply of orphan children. So consequently, millions of vulnerable children are trafficked by recruiters from their families. 85% of these kids in these institutions have parents. For our donors and our volunteers to have a paid orphanage experience. Because for traffickers, as we've heard from the other speakers, traffickers just see children as another commodity for sexual exploitation, for money, for child labour, in this case, to provide an orphanage experience. This is a particularly wicked scam because it is dressed up as child protection. But in fact, rather than protecting children, donors are paying for these children to be trafficked and perform for them and abused. So the dissonance this causes is very great, and the denial that comes with that is even greater. But when you strip everything away, our charities and our donors know absolutely nothing about the children that fill their Instagram feeds. They assume that someone else has done the due diligence, that somebody else has checked for them, that it is a legitimate facility, but almost all of them are not. But the good news is that as wicked as this particular form of trafficking of children is, it can be fixed because our behaviours have caused the problem. So by changing the behaviours of our charities, our volunteers and our donors, we can stop this form of trafficking. And I'd say that is also the case for many other forms of slavery and trafficking. If we work together to change the behaviours and to support other industries, in this case in our rare earths and our minerals supply chains, we can actually prevent this slavery. So in conclusion, I'd say that I firmly believe that it's not enough to preserve democracy and the individual liberties of our citizens in our own nations. We have to work together and not turn a blind eye anymore to the slavery and death of women, children and men in many of countries that are represented in this conference today. So it's time to call out our silent acceptance of our clean energy technology, our military materiel and all of our modern day conveniences which are riddled with the lives and the deaths of other people's children. We have a complex security environment, but there are ways of linking the strands that we've discussed here today and incorporate anti-trafficking and slavery because it is just simply the right thing to do. So thank you.